All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are, worldwide, 100 plus countries. My name is Joe K, coming to you live from Los Angeles. This is Soulection Radio. In front of me, we got my man Jerreau representing Columbus, Ohio. What's up, man?
Yes, what's happening, man?
You good?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yep, happy to have you here. So it was about a year ago that I actually found out about you without even realizing. Our boy, Mr. Carmack.
Yeah.
He did the all day beat.
Right.
And, I didn't know. Because, he's always weird with the way he titles things.
Gotcha.
So I saw
Jerreau, yeah.
And I heard it. I'm like, who is this guy?
Dope.
So then here comes full circle. And then I hear, Never How You Plan. And I was like, it makes sense. This is a guy.
Dope.
This is him. Welcome. The album is dope. 14
Appreciate
tracks. Let's talk about it.
Let's go.
So what's the concept behind it? And I know you've been here in Los Angeles for 2 years now.
Right.
And how's the transition been?
It's the transition interesting. One day I'll really, dive in and give people a real look into, what it really was like. But I mean, I think a lot of people have the same story, It's kind of weird, relocating if you've lived in a certain, place your entire life.
Of course.
So that, getting assimilated, that whole process. But when it comes to the album, I started it in Ohio, and finished it in LA, recorded in different cities, recorded in Atlanta, LA, Ohio. And it was kind of like back and forth, like a trifecta kind of thing.
Like different eras of your life.
Yeah. It was, in retrospect, when you look back at it, it's like, wow, it really, it's like a chronological order on some parts of the album. You're like, wow, you can really pinpoint where you were at, what you were doing, why you wrote what you said, why you said what you wrote, and all that jazz. But conceptually, it's really just about the ideas that a lot of times we have an idea of what we want, or how we want to see things happen, and it still might manifest. It just may not happen how you thought it would.
Yeah.
And that's essentially, life.
Yeah, of course. And when I heard "Really Got It," shout out to the homie Brandon, sent me a link on iMessage, and I heard it. Just the intro, it just reminded me of something you hear with Rocky. You know? It sounded like a champion song, And what I noticed is the consistency, not just with your writing style, but the beat selection. It really caught my attention because sonically, I listen to beats so much, and the sound, and then the tones and the frequencies, and the way you just everything, man. The cadences that you use, but overall, like, you have a dope voice, and the beat selection's on point. Really Got It. Who produced that?
My guy Jay Swiffer. He produced Really Got It.
Is he from back home as well?
Yeah. So everybody on the project is from Ohio, except maybe one guy, like my homie Kane, who sung on The Flow.
Yeah.
And he's the only person that's not from Ohio.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get into the joint that introduced me to you, All Day.
Okay.
Produced by the homie and affiliate and one of our very own, Mr. Carmack. This track's hard. Let's get into it. We'll be right back here on Soulection Radio, Jerreau. And you just heard All Day, produced by Carmack, featuring Jerreau. Yo, man, so let's talk about that track. What's the concept? What's the storyline behind that?
You know what? So at the time, I was in a group, Fly Union, and we were signed to Interscope. So we were with my man Tunji.
Tunji.
Yeah, Tunji.
Word.
Yeah,
that's the homie.
Yeah, that's the homie, man. He introduced us to Mr. Carmack. And that same, we were at Red Bull Studio.
Did he sign you guys?
No, that's a totally that's a long story. But
small world.
But he's been holding us down for a while, So we were at the studio, and I met K Tronada the same session.
Wow.
And so Carmack gave us we were in the studio, he playing these beats. I said, wow, this sounds like Slum Village. But in my mind, what I'm saying is it reminds me of a Jay Dilla beat. But the way it came out, he was like, Slum Village? Just don't sound like no Slum, you know what I'm saying? So I think, so it was just funny because I'm like, no, like Jay Dilla.
Like Dilla, yeah.
So if you are familiar with Jay Dilla, there's a lot of Jay Dilla references in that song, and that's why, I did that.
Yeah, I think it's a Hold It Down or Champagne. That reminds me of donuts.
Word. Okay.
You know
Yeah.
the type of
Yeah.
yeah.
I can
It's
see that.
L.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy though. So, what was your experience? From working in a group and dealing with majors. Now now you're independent.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to the group, I think it teaches you. It's. I mean, I think everybody has an experience. In grade school when you have to do group projects.
Yep.
I mean, that's exactly what it is.
Even college.
Yeah, it's like in certain moments you have people who have to step up, or people who have to fall back, people who have to pull people and encourage them, make sure that come on man, you gotta do your part of the song. You know what I mean? So it's a different experience in that there's really no compromise when you're a solo artist. Like you don't have to worry about.
You don't have to report to nobody. You do things that you want to do.
Yeah. But I learned a lot. I can't say that I would have been able to create what I created on Never How You Plan without going through that experience. And the members in my group, in my former group, were a part of this project.
Yeah.
So they really helped bring it to life.
Of course.
Yeah.
They're part of your history, your development.
Right.
And I'm sure those are your brothers, that you guys started with. So
yeah.
I'm sure that's what's up. And when you were with Interscope, you worked also. You guys toured with TDE.
Yeah, we
Kendrick
did.
And them.
We did. So
what did you pick up from that?
That was right before we signed. So it kind of, I think, was one of those assets that helped. Ink the deal.
Got it.
That was definitely fun, man. We had a great time on tour. We did a web series online, so there's like 7 to 9 episodes just documenting the whole tour. If you watch it, like we having a ball, I mean, we couldn't show everything, but but we had a ball, man. It was one thing that I learned. The biggest takeaway, I think, is a lot of times you hear people talk about how sick they get when they're on the road and there's no options. Like you got to be resourceful in picking and deciding where to eat, how to eat, because we stayed healthy throughout that tour.
Of course.
Only one time I got sick when I was in Miami, of course, of all the cities to get sick in, just because of lack of sleep. But for the most part, it's just eating habits. You gotta stay up on that for sure.
Man, it's that tour diet.
Oh yeah, man. That'll kill you, man.
Yeah. One thing I noticed on the album credits, which I thought was ill on the artwork, was that when it said executive produced by, you said this executive produced by my family and friends.
Yeah.
And I think that's so tight. It seems like you keep a tight knit.
Yeah.
Even meeting some of your team right now, moments ago, I could just tell that you guys are really selective about your moves.
Mm-hmm.
And you keep the circle tight. Talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, me personally, I've always been I vet people. I don't let people. I'm very protective of myself and my friends and family. So it's very important that I have people around me that I can trust and that I believe are smarter than me and that are only going to help push me, be a better me.
Of course.
And so by doing, executive produced by my friends and family, honestly, it was really one of those things where this project would not have come to fruition without them, without their support, without them just being there for this process, because it definitely was a process.
I think that says a lot about your character, because some artists would be like, "Yo, this is all me," but I think that's that speaks a lot because the way you present it and the way you represent for the team and the family, I think that's important. I think that says a lot about you.
Dope.
When you're selecting a beat,
Mm-hmm.
what's your process like? What captures you?
That's interesting. I'm very selective.
Selection.
Exactly. So it just like I'm not a studio rat. Like I don't just sit in the studio and I just don't.
Could you just like be in your bedroom or in the hotel room and just pull out your mic and just record there on your own, or?
I did. So the way I approach my songs is I don't like to go to the studio until I have what I'm going to say done. I don't want to waste anybody's time. I don't want to waste my time. I want to get back out in the streets and kick it, you know. So I like to prepare every verse, every hook. I can probably count on my hands how many times I've walked into the studio and without nothing and created a full song. Like probably maybe 3 times most. So yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And who do you enjoy working with? I know you work with BJ the Chicago Kid. You've worked with Dom Kennedy.
Right.
And it's crazy because when I first heard you too, I thought you were from Cali.
Yeah.
You have a West Coast vibe. You remind me of the era of Pac Div and You and I, and you know that whole vibration. You know.
You know what's funny about that too is like a lot of the because we've heard that a lot. Like I get that a lot. Like people thought I've been in LA for like all my life. But a lot of the sounds that West Coast artists sample, are Ohio Midwest artists. So it's always interesting when people say, we sound like West Coast, but a lot of that funk and a lot of that soul came from Midwest artists.
Yeah, it's
so
crazy.
it's like
That is interesting.
Yeah, technically, y'all sound like us.
That's real. That's real.
But it's still love,
Yeah.
There's always been like a crazy relationship between the West Coast and Midwest. I'm sure it has something to do with like the weed game, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because when you think about the Midwest, like who do you think about? You think right now, who in your head right now is representing?
Like today?
Like I mean, you think about like Chance.
Yeah, Chance. Vic.
And if you think about Chance is more gospel, it's soulful.
Right.
I wouldn't say West Coast. Vic is more dark and kind of trappish and harder rap.
Yeah.
But I think that's what I was saying when West Coast, because there's still, even if you listen to like YG or you listen to other people, it has that West Coast. Snoop, it still has that funk.
Right.
It's interesting, but I totally feel you because people forget about where the root
Right, where the
from.
root, you got, Zap Band, Isley Brothers,
Yeah.
the list goes on, you know.
Talk to me about how did LeBron discover your sound?
I've known Bron shoot.
It's all good.
Yeah, edit that out. Since like 2009. So that's when he became familiar and a fan of the sound. And so he's been
through Fly Union.
Yeah, when I was in Fly Union.
That's so tight.
And so he's been a supporter for many of years. So it's interesting when you see today, for a lot of people, their first introduction to Jerreau was LeBron on IG, dancing, listening to Really Got It,
Yeah.
But if you do your Googles, you'll see, he's
been supporting.
Right, for many of years. Yeah.
Is that kind of does that put you in a pocket, or almost like, I'm much more than just that or that hype, or I'm not just a hype artist?
It's twofold. Like I tell people all the time, like, it doesn't matter who stands behind your work if your work can't stand by itself. So on one fold, I can't help who's a fan of Jerreau's music. Like what I'm gonna do, say, hey Brian, take that down. You know what I mean? Like don't like my music, Brian.
Because it's done a lot of great things for you as well. Like I've seen it, like after during the finals, I've seen it in commercials, and it seemed like it was the anthem. But
then at the same time, it's like if the music wasn't good, nobody's gonna respond.
Yeah,
that way.
That's true.
So
at the end of the day, it's about the music.
Exactly, and it all starts with the music. Like if the song was never made, he would just be on there pumping his fist to air, So it all starts with the music at the end of the day.
Yeah. And before we head out, it's right now it's a really interesting time in life.
Mm-hmm.
What's your perspective right now on the current, climate of, where we are right now as a country and just what's going on?
I definitely woke up, with a heavy heart. And these conversations are really multi-layered and complex. And I think sometimes when we talk about them, people talk about it as if there's one solution. What I will say is that when you're dealing with people who sign up to serve and protect, they should be held to a higher accountability than civilians. You know, and I think that's where it needs to start. It's kind of like when you grow up in a neighborhood and you see everybody around you, you know, who looks like you. You know, if I get into a dispute with someone who looks like me and it turns fatal, statistically speaking, it's more likely to happen because I'm in a neighborhood with people who look like me, you know? So the argument or the discussion about, you know, black on black crime, it's a myth.
Does it get in the way of you creating music? Or I know there's time I look at my phone and I'm like trying to do something creative. I'm trying to reply to this, and I can't. I'm stuck for hours because my mind has just been messed up.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because like I have people, you know, like people would tweet you, yo, check out this link, and I'm ready to snap. Like I'm not trying to listen to your link right now, you know. And it also, I don't want to promote my own
I feel
content
the same way.
right now.
The last 2 days, you know, in particular, this whole week, it's been like a blackout day.
Yeah.
You know, I see people promoting their flyers, their shows,
it's just weird.
their
It's
selfies,
weird.
and I'm just like, how do you really feel? I know life goes on, but how do you feel comfortable? You know, it's like it's a real time right now, and how can you even, you know, like we were supposed to send out a newsletter. I said nah. It just, how are we gonna advertise this during like this moment? It's just, there's bigger things going on, and it's got to have like a moment of silence or a moment of clarity,
right,
and give it its time, you know.
And one thing I noticed too is that there's a lot of people who are disconnected from what's really going on. You know, like today I haven't been on my phone all day, and I'm like, wow, I don't know what's going on right now because I don't watch, you know, corporate news or mass, you know, news. I get all my news from Twitter, you know, and I pick, you know, reputable news sources to follow. And I'm like, wow.
Or what's crazy is that the people have become the true source.
Right.
Because they're right there.
Exactly. So I'm looking around, I'm looking at all these people, and I'm like, there's so many people who don't know what has happened these last few days. And they're so far removed from what's going on, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you, man. Well, it's tough to say, but, you know, I think I've been kind of saying it for a while that music right now is more important than ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to say that we are just entertainers, but at the same time, you know, you have to get it. We got to take a break. You got to turn off your phone.
Right.
And I think music right now is one of the few, you know, answers to getting away or to creating a positive message.
Right.
So
definitely,
we got to keep doing what we do, not as a distraction, but just as a sort of a release outlet.
Right, definitely.
So we got to continue that. Thank you for coming on the show. I cannot wait to just connect with you more, and
I'm with it.
I want to link the squad over with you. Like we have an arsenal of amazing producers.
I know.
So let's get to that, man, and let's really work.
I'm all for it, man. I appreciate y'all for having me.
Of course. And before we head out, are you down? Are you with it to like do some live performances?
Oh yeah, I'm all for it. Yeah.
All right, so let's get into it right now. Jerreau stepping up right now on Soulection Radio. Thank you guys worldwide. Peace.